Sheriff Marcus rode into Deadwood expecting another routine patrol, but when he found a young woman tied to the old hanging tree with a note pinned to her dress reading, "Outlaws, blood runs deep," he had no idea she would change everything he believed about justice. The Dakota Territory, autumn of 1882. The wind carried the scent of dying leaves and distant snow as Sheriff Marcus Kane guided his horse through the narrow canyon that led to Deadwood. He had made this journey dozens of times, checking on the mining camps and keeping the peace in a land where justice was often decided by the fastest draw. But today felt different. As he crested the ridge overlooking the old settlement, his eyes caught something that made his blood run cold. There, beneath the gnarled branches of the hanging tree that had seen too much death, a figure swayed gently in the morning breeze. Marcus spurred his horse forward, heart pounding. As he drew closer, he realized it wasn't a corpse, but a young woman, barely conscious, her wrists bound with rope and tied to the lowest branch. Her dark hair fell across her face like a curtain, and her simple blue dress was torn and stained with dust and dried blood. Pinned to her bodice was a crude piece of paper with words scrawled in what looked like charcoal. "Outlaw's blood runs deep." Marcus dismounted quickly, his boots hitting the hard-packed earth with urgency. He drew his knife and cut the ropes, catching the woman as she collapsed into his arms. She was light, too light, as if she hadn't eaten in days. Miss, can you hear me?" His voice was gentle, a stark contrast to the hardened lawmen most people knew. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing the deepest green he had ever seen. For a moment, she stared at him with a mixture of fear and confusion, then tried to pull away. "Please," she whispered, her voice hoarse. Don't send me back to them." "Nobody's sending you anywhere," Marcus said firmly. "You're safe now. What's your name?" She hesitated, those green eyes searching his face as if trying to determine whether she could trust him. "Elena," she finally said. "Elena Reeves." Marcus helped her to her feet, noting how she winced when she put weight on her left ankle. "Well, Miss Reeves, somebody did this to you for a reason. That note, what does it mean?" Elena's face went pale. I can't tell you. If I do, you'll hate me like everyone else." "Try me." She looked at him for a long moment, then shook her head. "You wouldn't understand. You're a sheriff. You believe in right and wrong, black and white. My world is all gray." Marcus studied her face, noting the intelligence in her eyes, the way she carried herself despite her obvious ordeal. This wasn't some saloon girl or camp follower. This was a woman with education, with dignity. "Come on," he said, offering his arm. "Let's get you somewhere safe, and then you can tell me what this is really about." As they rode toward town, Elena sitting behind him on his horse, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just taken a turn he wasn't prepared for. The woman's arms around his waist felt right somehow, and when she rested her head against his back, exhausted from her ordeal, something stirred in his chest that had nothing to do with duty. 2 hours later, they sat in the back room of Doc Harrison's office. Elena's ankle was wrapped, her cuts cleaned and bandaged. She had eaten a bowl of soup and drunk 2 cups of coffee, color slowly returning to her cheeks. "Now," Marcus said, settling into the chair across from her, "suppose you tell me the truth about who you really are." Elena was quiet for so long he thought she might not answer. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "My father is Thomas McGraw." Marcus felt the world tilt. Thomas McGraw, known as Black Tom, was the most wanted man in 3 territories. His gang had robbed banks, trains, and stagecoaches from Colorado to Montana. They had killed at least 15 men, maybe more. "That's impossible," Marcus said automatically. "McGraw doesn't have a daughter." "He does," Elena said quietly. "He sent me away when I was 12, to a boarding school in San Francisco. Said the frontier was no place for a lady. I haven't seen him in 10 years, but apparently his enemies found out about me." Marcus stared at her, his mind reeling. Everything he thought he knew about justice, about right and wrong, suddenly seemed more complicated. "The note," he said. "Who put it there?" "The Hawkins brothers. They want to use me to draw my father out. They left me there as bait, figuring he'd come for me eventually." She met his eyes. "They're probably watching us right now." Marcus's hand instinctively moved to his gun. "Then we need to get you somewhere safer." "No," Elena said, standing up despite Doc Harrison's protests. "You don't understand. If you help me, you become their enemy too. I won't let that happen. You've done enough." But as she moved toward the door, Marcus caught her arm gently. "Elena," he said, and something in the way he said her name made her turn back. "I became a sheriff because I believed in protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. That hasn't changed." She looked at him, and for the first time since he'd found her, she smiled. It was a small smile, hesitant and fragile, but it transformed her entire face. Even when that person is an outlaw's daughter. Marcus stepped closer, close enough to see the flecks of gold in her green eyes. Especially then. And in that moment, as the afternoon sun slanted through the window of the doctor's office, Sheriff Marcus Kane made a choice that would change both their lives forever. He was going to protect Elena McGraw, not because the law demanded it, but because his heart did. Outside, 3 men on horseback watched the building, waiting for the right moment to strike. The real story was just beginning.